Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of My Bit. So all my life I've been collecting retro games, and having moved a lot as a kid, I found a lot of different kinds of places to buy those games on a budget. Now you're probably wondering, how is the best way to start? Because video games, especially retro games, can be really expensive, especially if you're looking for like the really rare ones, and those are always the ones I want most. So today I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown on some of the best places to find retro games and consoles. So number four would go to indie stores, independent gaming stores. They usually have a huge selection, it depends on the particular seller, but sometimes they sell some amazing games for amazing prices. It's some of the only ways you can find these particular games. Now, of course, I put it as number 4 because some of those sellers will overprice their games. Some of them will undersell as well though, and it's something to kind of take advantage of and to really do your research on. It's probably one of the biggest things, is do your research. Number 3 would go to online sellers. Online sellers like eBay, you could go on Kijiji, you could go on Craigslist. I've had some really amazing deals here. Now at the same time, people who sell on these sites tend to sell for either more or the particular price that you would generally find. You don't find people selling for less because they're doing their research, right? But at the same time, it's also one of the best ways to find particular games that you wouldn't be able to find anywhere else. I know I've definitely used Craigslist and Kijiji specifically a lot because of that. Now, if you want the full bundle, if you want a case, if you want the manual, this is another really great option. That's why I really recommend eBay, is because you can usually get the full package, or you can even get pieces of it. So let's say you already have the cartridge and you already have the box, but you still need the manual. Sometimes that's the best place to go to for things like that. Number 2 would go to thrift stores like Goodwill, Salvation Army, Value Village here in Canada. Sometimes you can find some really great deals on consoles, specifically consoles though. I've noticed if you go into the electronics section, you are bound to find a Genesis there, usually Model 2. Sometimes you find Model 1. Sega Master System, I know we found quite a few Nintendos, usually not Super Nintendos. You find GameCubes there a lot too if you're looking for that. You don't really find Dreamcasts, unfortunately, but you do find a lot. Sometimes you find accessories too that you wouldn't be able to find elsewhere. In terms of games, that's up for grabs. It depends on the place and if they do carry games. Most won't, and if they do, it's just gonna be like CD-ROMs, right? But it's a really great place because if you do find something like that, you'll usually find it for a really good price. Now, at the same time, you will definitely need to clean up this stuff, and you may even need to refurbish, depending. Like for a Nintendo, you might need to put in a new 72 pin connector, or you might just need to clean it up. It's been really dusty just sitting around in places, just building dust, really. So it does take a little bit of time and attention with stuff like this, and you definitely do want to find the days that new products do come in to thrift stores, but it's definitely great if you're willing to go on the hunt. Now, number 1 would go to flea markets and garage sales. Now, I add garage sales here, but at the same time, garage sales can be really tricky. It really depends on where you're living and what the neighborhoods are like in your area. Now, here in Toronto, it's not so good. It's not so good in terms of that. You're usually going to find really small garage sales. You're not going to find a really good selection of stuff, and you're not always going to find gaming. If you do, you're really lucky. Really lucky. It's usually better in rural areas. I grew up in a lot of rural areas, a lot of small towns, and there you're going to find the biggest sales and you're going to find the best prices. A lot of the people who sell these kinds of things, they don't really know how to price them. So usually you can find some total steals in terms of consoles and games. Now, this is where flea markets come into effect, because no matter what, you're always going to get games at flea markets. You're always going to find a lot of amazing things at flea markets. This is also where I buy a lot of anime, like old anime I wouldn't be able to find elsewhere. But in terms of retro gaming, there's usually some really, really awesome deals, awesome prices, and you can barter. You can barter, and it's so great. Usually they're pretty reasonable. Sometimes they're more strict. Sometimes, you know, you're gonna get people, just like with indie stores, where they're gonna be selling for way too much for something that should really be common. And sometimes they're gonna bump up the price even more for something that's rare, so it's not gonna be that reasonable. But you can always work your way down, you can always barter, you can always just find other methods in order to get these things. So if garage sales don't work in your area, definitely look for flea markets. They're huge, you're gonna find a really good selection of stuff, and you're usually gonna find pretty good prices. So now I want to hear from you. Where are some of the best places you found retro games and retro consoles? I definitely want to hear your input. Please leave the comments below and just let me know what you think of this video and if it helps you out in, you know, finding that special game that you've been looking for ages. I really hope this helped you out. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and tune in again soon for another video. Okay, guys? All right, peace.